House of the Dragon Season 3 trailer made me feel the worst. If not our Black Queen crying over a dead child's head on the table, I felt the worst seeing the unfortunate Harrenhal Castle burned down in Dragonfire again. Truly, the Godslake style of Westeros could have been an example of the greatest architectural style in the Westeros. The castle that has always been the epitome of how the evolution of time has always turned into the ultimate example of the terrible misery of fire and blood. This cursed Harrenhal Castle will also determine the lifespan of two of the most popular characters in House of the Dragon, One-Eyed Targaryen Prince Aemond and Rogue Prince Daemon Targaryen. On the map of Westeros, Harrenhal is not just a castle, it is a monstrous wasteland, a living nightmare. Born from the arrogance of Harrenhal the Black, this castle is like a gigantic monument to black magic, blood, and death. History has witnessed that none of those who dared to become the lords of this castle have returned empty-handed from Harrenhal. It has given them madness, destruction, and a horrible death as gifts. But does the curse only apply to lords written on paper? As we saw in the second season of House of the Dragon, in the third and fourth seasons we will see how the curse of Harrenhal will consume two of the greatest warriors and dragon riders of the Targaryen dynasty, Daemon and Sucha Targaryen. Neither of them was the legitimate lord of this castle, but in the pride of power they seized Harrenhal, and Harrenhal proved that the curse does not care about any title or paper document. Harrenhal wants blood and soul. Before understanding the fate of Daemon and Aemond, we need to understand how terrible the scope of the curse of Harrenhal is. George R.R. Martin did not create this castle as just a ghost house. Rather, he wrote Harrenhal as a symbol of human arrogance and an extreme punishment for cruelty towards nature. In today's video, I will tell you the story of all the mysteries of this gigantic castle. No, dear viewers, how Harrenhal Castle was first destroyed by the fire of the dragon Balerion of the Conqueror is not the subject of today's video. There is already a separate video on this on my channel. The link is given in the I button and description. Those interested can watch it later. So let's get started. When we explore the history of the ownership or lordship of Harrenhal Castle, we see that the owner of this giant stone castle lost his life in the wilderness. If we skip past history a little and check in modern times, that is, during the Game of Thrones, the curse of the ownership of Harrenhal Castle still existed. Since Tywin Lannister took over Harrenhal, its ownership has changed like musical chairs. At first, Janos Linton was declared lord, but he could never go to Harrenhal. Creon exiled him to the Wall, and Jon Snow beheaded him for rebellion. Then the armory lord was Castellan of Harrenhal. In the main book, he was put in a bear cage and fed alive. However, in the Game of Thrones series, according to Arya Stark, Jaqen H'ghar killed him with a poison dart. It is worth mentioning that if you want to know the details about Jaqen H'ghar and his house Black and White, you can check the I button and description. Then, the actual Lord of Harrenhal at this time, Tywin Lannister, was killed by his son Tyrion in the toilet when he was shot by an arrow. Then Vergahot took charge of Harrenhal. In the main story, he was brutally dismembered by Gregor Clyde, or the Mountain, Dushiridonton. But in Game of Thrones, the character's name was changed to Loki. Locke was a man of Rouge Blanc and cut off Jaime Milansar's hand when he took over Harrenhal. In Season 4, Bran Stark worked on Hodor's body and killed him. In the final episode of the Game of Thrones series, Peter Baelish, or Littlefinger, became the Lord of Harrenhal on paper, although he was never seen in Harrenhal. However, he used this title to influence the Vale of Arryn. Later, he was killed by Arya Stark at the hands of Winterfell. Now, if we look at the past history first, the founder of Harrenhal, the arrogant King Helon, was burned to ashes in the fire of the Black Dragon Balerion, along with his descendants inside the castle, Then House Corlys, after Corlys died, Aegon gifted the castle to his master of coin, Lucas Corlys. Lucas Cohaerys' grandson, Gorgon, raped a maiden in the castle of Cohaerys. As a result, the maiden's father, Randar Darred, cut off Gorgon's private parts and fed them to dogs. With Gorgon's death, House Cohaerys was also destroyed. After Cohaerys, King Maegor Rookwell gave Harrenhal Castle to Lord Lucas Horroway. Lucas' daughter, Alice Horroway, was Maegor's second wife. But when Queen Alice gave birth to a deformed child, rumors spread that Maegor's third wife, Tiana Alice, had committed adultery. Maegor was furious and exterminated the entire Harroway clan, including his wife Alice. Every Harrowite in Harrenhal was hunted down and killed. It's worth mentioning, I have already made a video about the story of Maegor the Cruel becoming king. There's a link in the I button and description. Those interested should watch it. After the fall of Herod, King Maegor organized a battle between his best swordsmen. After winning the battle, Sir Walton became Lord of the Towers. In the wounds of this battle first he, and later his descendants of House Towers died of illness and poverty, suffering from poverty. Then, during the House of the Dragon, House Strong took charge of Harrenhal. We saw the fate of Lord Lionel Strong and his son Harwin Strong in Season 1. Lionel and Harwin both burned to death in the fire of Harrenhal due to the conspiracy of the deformed, four-legged Lord Larys. Later, during the Hour of the Wolf, Larys Strong was beheaded by Cragon Stark. House Strong was also completely extinct. Good thing. Cragon Stark ruled the entire Westeros for 6 days during this time. If you want to know the story of the very last part of the House of the Dragon, you can check the I button or the description. When the House of the Dragon ended, King Aegon III gave the responsibility of this castle to House Luthstone. The last owner of this clan was Matt Daniel Luthstone. According to folklore, he practiced black magic and bathed in the blood of virgins. In the end, his clan was also destroyed due to madness and chaos. The longest-lasting owner of Harrenhal Castle was House Went. During and before Robert's Rebellion, House Went was the Lord of Harrenhal and of Harrenhal. Before Robert's Rebellion, it was at the tourney of Harrenhal, organized by Lord Walter, that Rhaegar and Lyanna Stark's love began, which led to the fall of the Targaryens. Lady Shilwent was forced to surrender to Tyne Lester and soon died alone and in silence. So what did we see? Harrenhal is a castle whose joy of conquest is fleeting, but its curse is eternal. George Martin shows that history has not forgiven anyone who, out of greed for power, wanted to own this huge pile of stones. Yeah, Pepe? But why? To find this answer, we have to go to the very beginning, when Harren the Black built this huge castle by working thousands of people, like slaves, for 40 years. It is said that he mixed human blood with cement. According to folklore, slaves' blood was mixed with cement instead of water to join the huge stones of this castle. As a result, the cries of countless unsatisfied souls are mixed in every wall of this castle. However, the real curse of Harrenhal originally began with the destruction of the weirwood tree. When Harren the Black began building this castle, she destroyed the 1,000-year-old sacred weird forest of the Riverlands. She made the castle's huge beams, doors, and furniture with the white wood and red leaves of these sacred trees of the old gods. It is said that when the trees were cut down with an axe, the chest of the trees would split open and red sap would flow like blood. By cutting weird, Harren directly brought the wrath of the gods upon himself. The beams and furniture made of this wood turned Harrenhal into a spiritual hell. In the second season of House of the Dragon, we did not see a single weird tree inside the castle of Harrenhal. The tree that Daemon laid his hands on was terrible. Some say that Harren kept this one tree alive as a god imprisoned by his own pride. Others say that the axe has never been used on this tree. Looking at its leaves, it seems that blood is still flowing. Harrenhal is no ordinary castle. It is a spiritual parasite. Whenever anyone steps into its halls with extreme darkness, the castle awakens their fear, guilt, and violence. Both Daemon and Aemond have forcibly occupied Harrenhal and have fallen victim to the wrath of the gods. In Season 2, we saw Daemon suffer from terrible hallucinations as a result of sleeping in a bed of weird wood. His guilt is his anger towards Vicious. The conflict of loyalty to Rhaenyra is reflected like a mirror. Harrenhal shattered Daemon's pride and mentally prepared him for death. The same thing will happen to Aemond in Season 3. According to the books, Aemond runs a ruthless, destructive business in the Riverlands. The castle's environment takes shape in him as a cruel madness. Harrenhal was pulling him towards his ultimate fate. God's Eye Lake and I Love the Faces are located right next to Harrenhal. Daemon and Aemond's ultimate fate was written in the sky of this god's eye. The curse of Harrenhal pits them against each other. It turns pride into blindness and ultimately drags them into the abyss of the gods. This is the greatest beauty of George R. R. Martin's writing. The curse of Harrenhal is not a magic wand that will kill a person if you wave it. It is a psychological and spiritual trap that awakens the darkness within a person. Daemon and Aemond were not officially the lords of Harrenhal, but in the history of Harrenhal, they are the most iconic and tragic victims of the curse. History has truly not forgiven anyone who tried to conquer this huge pile of stones for the sake of power. If you want to know what Daemon really saw and changed so much after planting the Weirwood tree, click on this video. And if you want to understand how the Weirwood tree is the root of all the powers of the Third-Eyed Raven, click on this video. Let's talk where you clicked.